This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last webinar of the year. I hope you've enjoyed the series that we've put on. We've got some great webinars already booked in for next year, which we'll come on to in a second. As always, this session will be recorded and will appear on our YouTube channel later on today. So if you miss anything, you want to go over anything, then please go to YouTube, search for Harts Limited, with limited spelt in full, and you'll be able to catch up on anything that you've missed. You've also got on there all the previous webinars that we've done as well, so you can catch up on some of the stuff that you might have missed over the year. Please feel free to go back and have a look. It's all free, so there's no reason why you shouldn't make use of it all great resources in there. As usual, we have our chat box in the top right hand corner of your screen. So if you want to ask any questions, you can do it through the chat box, or if you're feeling a little bit braver, you can actually unmute yourself and shout out some questions. Be happy for you to put some questions to me personally. That would be great. So first of all, what I'd like to do is we have to read out our usual disclaimer, which is the following presentation is produced for general guidance only, and professional advice should always be sought for any transactions undertaken. Individual circumstances can vary, and therefore no responsibility can be accepted by Harts Limited or any of their affiliates for any action taken or any decision made to refrain from action by attendees of this presentation. Okay, that's the formal bit out of the way. As always, we have our online resources, so please follow us on LinkedIn at Harts Limited. You can have a look on YouTube at Harts Limited. Follow us on Twitter as well. And we're now on Spotify. We've got some podcasts available on Spotify if you want to search for Harts Accountants on there. We've got some very interesting conversations with people, so please feel free to have a listen to those. Again, it's all free. Our next webinar is next year, and we think this is going to be very topical. It's all on cost reduction. Everybody wants to try and reduce their costs at the moment, so this is for business purposes. So if you're looking to reduce your business costs, we have a cost reduction specialist who's coming on board and will be able to give you some advice on how to do that. So please book in on the 19th of January. Go to our website, to the events page, and just please book on. The invitations will be going out formally fairly soon. We're going to be reverting to monthly webinars as from next year, so please feel free again to jump onto any of those. And before we actually get into the planning, we just wanted to follow up on the last month's webinar of 2 weeks ago, as it was now. Matters to be aware of. If you want a bit more on this in full, just go to the previous webinar and be able to catch up on all of this. So you can have corporation tax increases are coming in from April. Don't forget that. So if your profits are above £50,000, then potentially you're going to be paying a lot more tax. Tax rates going up from 19 to 25%. Don't forget we've got the dividend tax increases as well. So was from 7.5% as a basic rate taxpayer up to 8.75%, and that extra 1.25% is added on throughout the bands. Capital gains tax increases. Technically, the rate hasn't gone up, but they're reducing your tax-free amount from April, so it's going down from 12,300 to £6,000 next year as the tax-free amount, and then £3,000 the following year. And basis period reform. If you're a sole trader or partnership, from April next year, we have new rules coming in, which if you have a non-tax year end accounting year, it will affect you. So if you have a 30th of April year end, this is going to affect you in a big way. So anything other than a 5th of March or 5th of April or 31st of March year end, this will affect you. So you need to get in touch with us. Making tax digital is coming in April 24 for landlords and for sole traders, and this is where your combined income is above £10,000. That's £10,000 turnover, not profit, and it will affect you. So have you got the right resources to be able to submit your quarterly returns? If not, get in touch. We have some great solutions for you. Finally, on capital allowances, Don't forget the super deduction, the 130% relief you get ends on the 31st of March next year. So if you're looking to buy any equipment, you've got 3 months or so to be able to do so and claim this 130%. It has to be new equipment, new plant and equipment, computers and stuff, qualify. So if you want to do that, do it before 31st of March and you'll get the extra amount. And don't forget electric cars. We've got a new video for electric cars, which will be going onto our YouTube channel fairly soon, which have been an updated one as a result of the autumn statement. So that's enough of just matters to be aware of. Let's move on to strategy and planning. So what we're going to cover this morning, we will cover what is a strategic plan, how does it actually compare to a business plan, why you need to plan and what can happen if you don't, and what should be in your marketing plan. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Una Doyle, who's a business strategist and coach, who's a real expert in the marketing side of it as well. So she's going to take the second half of this morning's presentation, and you can ask as many questions as you can and pick her brains as much as you want. And then there's going to be a call to actions, what you need to do next. So let's start off. So what is a strategic plan? Well, this is very topical at the moment. We've got the World Cup final coming up on Sunday. I'm delighted to say that I was knocked out having had Costa Rica in the softest sweepstake, but there you go. We can't all win at them. So if we use this football analogy, a football team's strategy might be to win as many football games as they can by scoring goals from corners. That's their overall strategy of how they're going to win their football matches. How they actually take the corners, what routines they put in place, that is effectively their business plan. So that's the short-term part of it. But the overall strategy for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years might be we're going to win as many football matches as we can by scoring goals from corners. So they'll do these routines and hopefully they'll work, they'll adapt them, they'll change them. And as the competition understands what they're doing and understands their routines, so the competition catches up and you amend your business plan, you amend your strategy, your main intricate bits of the business plan to go forward, but the overall strategy remains the same. So that's kind of the difference between what a strategic plan is. You're looking for a much longer period. When you're doing a strategy session, having a strategy plan, try and be realistic about what you want to do. So don't kind of have a bad strategy to say, I want England to be the best football team in the world. Yeah, that's a strategy, but is it really realistic? Or my favourite team, Manchester United, I want them to be the greatest football team in the world, but is that a strategy? Not really. It's very woolly, it's very fluffy, so you want to have a bit more detail to it. So that's really the difference between the two. Make sure it's a good strategy as well. So why do a plan and why is it so important? Well, it gives you what you want, both from a personal and business point of view. It will give you great focus. We've had clients who've gone through this process and they've reached their target at the end of year 5 by the end of year 1 because they're so focused on doing what they're doing. You'll be setting targets. You'll have an action plan and it'll create this blueprint for the future. The main thing is you're accountable. Most people may have a plan. It might be in their head. It's not written down. What you want to do is be accountable to yourself, be accountable to your team, to your staff, to your customers, to your suppliers. So you become accountable for something. We're in a very uncertain time at the moment, so it might be just a method of you surviving the next 12 months or so. But it will also give you the opportunity for growth, profit, and it will give you great satisfaction and achievement. You'll have what you're trying to achieve and you'll be able to monitor as how you go along when you do it. So what can go wrong if you don't have a plan? The company has got no direction. It might not have any clear leadership. You might have short-term thinking. You're just firefighting all the time. The staff don't know what's going on. So they can have low morale, low motivation. And also it means you can miss out on opportunities because you're not actually thinking about where you want to go, what you're trying to achieve. And if business is very, very good at the moment, you might become complacent and not see the dangers lurking around the corner. So when we look at strategy for a company, we're looking at all sorts of areas. And we look at your personal and business objectives, and I'm going to come on to that in a bit more detail shortly. But you're going to look at your pricing opportunities, your management and your staff teams, your sales and marketing, what products you offer, and the financial modelling bit really falls out at the end because it's based on what you actually want and what you're actually trying to achieve. So those are all the areas that we look at when we're preparing a strategic plan. So really, we're looking at a period of probably 5 years or beyond, and we're saying we're looking where we are now, where do you want to be in, say, 5 years' time, and let's plan a route of how to get there. So we know what we're trying to achieve at the end of year 5, therefore at the end of year 4, we need to be there. 3, 2, this is what we need to do over the next 12 months to achieve what we're trying to get to. So as I say, we're going to look at all the areas of your business, your products, your services, wherever you're based, your pricing. You'll be doing maybe a SWOT analysis of your business. We're looking maybe how you can systemize your business. You'll be assessing your industry, your competitors, market trends, and you will follow up as well. We spend a lot of time talking about business objectives. And this is very important because you've got this thing which is your business. You've got to decide where you want to go with it, what you're trying to achieve. One of the questions we ask, very potent questions, how do you feel on a Sunday evening? Are you really looking forward to work, or do you wish the weekend was longer? And out of that can come 2 or 3 different answers. How much do you want to earn? How long do you want to carry on working? How many holidays do you want each year? How do you measure your personal success? Do you want to work full-time, part-time? What's important to you right now? And we're looking at this all from a personal objective point of view. We then move on to look at your business objectives. So how big do you want the business to be? How many staff do you want? What do you consider your standing in the community? What turnover would be good? How much profit do you want to make? How do you rate your customer service? What are your key objectives? There's many, many variables to consider. So we'd spend a lot of time looking at your personal objectives and looking at your business objectives, because that's the key to understanding what you want out of the business personally and where you want the business to go. We set targets, so you've got to have something to aim for. Goal setting is very important to your short-term and your long-term vision. We measure your progress and we see how you're getting on. We'll measure it on a monthly or quarterly or 6-monthly basis to see what you want. And we avoid procrastination, because you're going to have someone banging you over the head potentially with the report which you're going to get to say you've said what you want to try and do. It will give you motivation and increase your productivity at the same time. You will come out with some action plans. You will become, and these will be written down. You will get a report at the end of our session, and you have this action plan, and we'll say, right, who's going to do what by when? And let's be accountable to actually be able to do that. We act as a facilitator for you. We share with you, and you can share this with your advisor, you can share it with a colleague, you can share it with your team. We review your performances against the plan. So what we don't want you to do is have this session, which we have a strategic planning session, and you do nothing with the report that comes out of it. That's the last thing we want. You just do it and then think, right, I've done it, that's it. You've got to follow it up. You've got to make sure you're going along the path to achieve what you're trying to achieve, whether that be monthly or quarterly. We amend it if you want to, and then we update it. If you want any more information, go to our website. There is a free ebook on strategic planning, which you can actually download from our website. And if you just pop in your email address, you'll be able to download it. It's all for free. And it'll give you a bit more detail about what strategic planning is all about. So that, in a nutshell, is what a strategic plan is all about. I'm now going to hand over to Una Doyle, who is an impact coach and has also done a lot of this sort of stuff as well, and is going to talk to you a bit more about marketing. Una, I've made you presenter. You're a way to go. Has anybody got any questions so far and anything they've heard so far? Um, we have. Hi, Emily. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us. No, we've got no questions so far. So away you go, Una.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Just a little bit about me. I have been coaching in one form or another since 2003. I can't believe that next year I'm going to be celebrating 20 years of coaching, which is very exciting. The reason why I do this work is because I'm really passionate about helping to make a bigger impact. In fact, I set a huge goal for 2023, which is to help small and medium-sized business owners to unlock 100 million in extra revenues, and in doing so to create 1 million days of smiles through my giving partner B1G1. If you want to know more about that, hit me up on LinkedIn. And really what I'm doing is helping businesses to create a business that they could sell tomorrow, but they probably don't want to because it's highly profitable, it's fun to run, and they and their teams are in creative flow. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. Um, when when it comes to why you set up in business in the first place, the chances are that you wanted more time freedom, you wanted more financial freedom. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, business owners end up where they have only one or neither of those things. And I want to try and help fix that. Okay. So let me ask you a question, and please pop in the chat. If I can show you in what we're doing here today, how you could add an extra 10K or even up to 100K in profit, would that be worth your while to stay here? So put your answers in the chat. And by the way, I want this to be interactive. So it's not TV. You can talk back to me and you can put things in the chat as well. So Stephen has brought through kind of the process of strategic planning. And what's also so important, as he alluded to, is the implementation of that as well. Great. Yeah, absolutely, Emily. 110%. So I put together this model. I call it my impact-driven growth model. We don't have time today to go into all aspects of it, but we are going to tap into a couple of them, one of which being this 5-step proven profit formula to double your business, and some other things as well. But I've got a question for you. When it comes to implementing your plans, now hopefully they're in writing, but even if they're just ideas in your head at the moment, what is it that most gets in your way in implementing your vision, in implementing your ideas and your plans? Let us know in the chat, or feel free to unmute and speak it out as well. And Stephen, what do you find with your clients?
What I find is people go back to the day-to-day grind of the business and they don't actually get the chance to work on it. And they're firefighting. Where there's a lot of people who've just got to deal with the day-to-day stuff, and they don't set the time aside for actually doing it.
Yeah. So I've got some people saying doing the actual work, and it's time. Like, that's one of the key things. So a lack of time is one of the things I hear most from business owners. And going along with that, sometimes the lack of time is at least partly because they find they can't find the right people, or maybe they can't afford to have more people, even though they'd love to have them. Or they find that they have great people, but they're not staying long enough. Okay. So there's a concept I'm going to share with you, which is something that's not normally talked about in business. Though I was absolutely delighted recently. I've got a client I'm working with, their marketing company in the States, and one of the co-founders recently finished an MBA. And when I mentioned this concept to her, she's like, "Oh, we had a module on this in my course." I was like, "Oh, fantastic. It's beginning to make its way more into the mainstream." And what it is flow. Now, I'm not talking about workflow, though that it does impact workflow. What I'm talking about is this lovely sweet spot between stress and boredom. You might call it being in the zone. And it's a state of being. They call it a flow state. You know, those times when you're just on it, when, you know, you're just really focused, you're really engrossed and engaged in what you're doing. You probably lose all track of time, maybe even of location, you know, where you are as well. So put a yes in the chat if you've ever experienced that flow state. right? Occasionally I've come across people who haven't really experienced it, which I think is really sad. I fundamentally believe that we all as human beings deserve to spend as much time as possible in flow. Why is it so important, and why in a business context? Well, because your productivity speeds up when you are in flow. Accuracy is improved, attention, communication improves. You get to have more fun. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty important. And you feel more connected to your work. Quite often when people set up in business, like there's a real kind of passion and drive to make an impact, to make a change. And sometimes as the companies grow, they can lose sight of that. And just overall, your results improve tremendously. But there's a challenge. Okay. For most people, they don't know how to consciously create flow. So I have a solution to that. And so with all my clients, I work with them for them to create flow in their business in a few different ways. So this is Ignition, and these are the 8 traveler profiles. It's a personality profiling tool. Now, you may have done other profiling tools and kind of gone, oh, well, that's a bit interesting, but nothing really happened as a result. Well, that's not how we utilize this. Okay. I'm using this in kind of 4 key areas, right? Number one, your business model. How have you structured your business in terms of what it is you're selling, how you sell it, what you deliver, all of that, to make sure that you and any team members are in flow. Also looking at your growth strategies, right? That's number 2. So who is this that's actually doing the lead generation, that's doing the marketing, that's doing the sales, and making sure that the strategies that they're using are, again, aligned to their natural personality and strengths. And then number 3 is the tasks and activities that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and not just what you do, but also when you do it. Now, my best case study so far is a client who was able to free up 2 whole days a week in their business just by doing this. And they had nobody to delegate to at that time. They were a sole trader at the time, and so they weren't able to delegate. It wasn't like they just dumped a load of stuff on somebody else. We literally looked at, well, what do you want to stop doing? What should you be doing? When do you do it? And just doing all of that, they were able to free up 2 whole days a week. I added it up once, 96 extra days they got that year and every other year thereafter. 4.5 months. What would you do with that amount of time? Well, I can't always promise to get that, but usually people are able to free up at least 1, if not 2, 3 hours a week, and that can make a big difference, right? So when you implement flow into your business in this way, it allows you to increase productivity and to leverage the people that you have in your business, so that you got the right person in the right seat doing the right thing at the right time. And when your team members understand that helping each other be in flow helps them get in flow, then they really want to do it. It has a wonderful impact on team dynamics. In fact, nearly every team workshop that I run around this, somebody sidles up to me after lunch or the break, and they're like, oh, hey, Una, so-and-so and so-and-so, they've always been at loggerheads, but they've just sorted it out. And it happens a lot. It's really funny. So I've got a question for you. Thinking about when you're in flow, like how much are you in flow? So what would your flow score be? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is I couldn't be any more in flow, and 1 is like, oh, I'm really out of flow, I'm stressed, this is not enjoyable for me. Just let me know in the chat, right? What is your score? And this is really important, because you literally physically cannot be stressed and in flow at the same time. Our brains just don't work that way. Like they've literally done, when they put those kind of things on your head, and they measure the electrical pulses and what parts of your brain go on and off, and that. So you can't. It's physically impossible to be in flow and stressed in the same time. So it makes a big difference. So I've got a few scores here: 5, 7s, 5 to 6. So room for improvement, right? Like my aim is to help all my clients to be at least an 8 or above in their business. And look, when you're a smaller business and you haven't got many people to delegate to or outsource to, it's a little bit more challenging, but you can still do a lot to improve that flow score. So Mihai has done a huge amount of research. He's got a brilliant book called Creativity and Flow. And I just love this quote from him. The secret to a happy life is to learn to get flow from as many of the things we have to do in life as possible. And then there's nothing wasted. And everything we do is worth doing for its own sake. So how does flow impact your time and financial freedom? Well, obviously it frees up your time and your team. Plus, when you have more time available and your team members have more time available, you've got more capacity. That means you can sell more without having to add any more members to the team. So you've increased your profits, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
So also, as we said, it reduces your stress, increases your fun and well-being. And here's the other thing. Do you remember reason number 2? You don't have the right people in your team, or it's hard to find them or for them. It improves staff retention. Think about it. Like, if you're in flow in a job, why would you want to leave and go somewhere else? Okay, the chances are you're going to want to stay with that. Plus, when you actually structure your roles in the business to have people be more in flow, it then makes it so much easier to attract the right people. Think about it. You know exactly which profile you're writing a job ad for. You know what to focus on in the interview, what you're really looking for, and it just helps you to really understand who isn't a good fit and who is, from the point of view of their capability to do that job in flow. You're setting them up for success from the very, very beginning, and it makes a big difference. Okay, so I'm going to look at a third reason why businesses don't always have the time and financial freedom that they want, and they can struggle to implement their ideas and achieve their vision and goals. And this is having to compete on price, and or they find it really hard to scale past one-to-one conversations. So if you're in an SME and you're finding don't seem to be able to extract myself from from these, I want to be doing more advertising, online marketing, or just whether it's organic or paid, and you want other team members to do things, and you just find it just doesn't work as well when you're not involved in the process. Well, it's really important for businesses not to compete on price. Okay, number one, profits. Every time you either discount or you lower your prices in the first place because you're having to compete with other people, it's massively affecting your profits. I mean, if you kind of manufacture something and you have a 30% profit margin and you discount that, like even a 10% discount can mean you need to sell half as much or even twice as much to make the same amount of profit. Okay, Stephen's nodding. This
It's
is the
all a
kind of
race to the. It becomes a race to the bottom. That's your issue. So you've got to.
absolutely. Yes, it really does. So it's really important not to do that. And I just want to show you another reason kind of why as well, is that for smaller and newer companies, they're typically focused on getting more leads. But have you ever felt like getting more leads is like wading through treacle? Yeah, have you ever felt that? Pop a yes or a treacle in the chat. Now, when companies are more established, then they often are looking at more of these other areas, like how to convert more of those prospects, how to have people buy more from you or more often, how to increase profits, right? Well, the reason is that they're often missing foundations. Okay, when you've got the right foundations in place that you would be putting into your marketing plan, then that means, like, if you don't have that, fewer of the right leads, then it's more expensive to get them in the first place. It's harder to convert them into clients, and you end up competing on price. So why do so many companies find that that's exactly what they're doing? Well, I want to ask you a question, and please feel free to put this into the chat. But write down your answer, even if you don't want to share it publicly. But why would a client buy from your business instead of one of your competitors? So why would they buy from your business instead of one of your competitors? You
Come on,
see, the
guys. Let's
key is,
put it in the chat. Put it in the chat
hmm,
box.
yeah,
For ourselves, I
I'll come
hope
back
it's
and look
because
in
of
a
the
moment.
service. Yeah, hopefully for us, it's hopefully the service that they're getting for us, and all the proactivity and all the extra stuff that we give away. Um, Hopefully that's one of the reasons where they buy from Harts, is because we give a
Mhm.
quality service.
Okay, and here's the key, is that you've got to be strategic rather than tactical. And it's not just in your marketing, but in your business as well. So I'm always saying business strategy, then marketing strategy, then tactics, right? And let's just have a look at some of the differences. So in strategic marketing, it's the content of your message, it's what you say and how you say it. And it's also the concepts that you choose to focus on. Tactical marketing is the execution of that strategic marketing. So it's about, well, it's where we're going to put ads. It's about the website that you build, attending trade shows, PR, etc., etc. There's 101 ways that you can market your business. But if you don't get the strategic marketing part of it right, then that's when you end up feeling like you're walking through treacle. So we've got people saying friendly service, the experience, the quality of advice, customer service, reputation, understanding my client's business. So the challenge is that for a lot of businesses, they have what we call yawn platitudes: lowest prices, best service, we're family owned and operated, convenient hours, best value, we were established in X year. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. What you actually need is a strong market dominating position. What do I mean by that is, well, this is how you position yourself in the marketplace so that your clients, that what's going through their heads is, wow, I would be a fool to go anywhere else. Okay. And there's three questions you've got to ask of yourself, right? To assess, do you have a market domination position? And if you do, how strong is it? And please don't feel bad, by the way, if you're not able to answer, if you're answering these questions in the wrong way, because 95% of business owners I speak to are exactly the same. Okay. And there's a reason for that, which I'll go into. So the first question is, could your competitors say the same as you? Even if they don't do it, right? I've been in a situation where I've literally been working with somebody. We go and look at their competitors' websites, we look at their website, and everyone says the same. And sometimes they'll go, yeah, but this, I know this company, and they do a really bad job. They say they do this, and they don't. It doesn't matter. Okay, why? Because you've got this internal reality for you, for your team members, for your clients. They all know how fantastic you are. That's why they're loyal to you, why they come back to you time and time again. But then you've got the external perception. They don't have the same experience that your clients do. They only judge on what they see and what they hear. And when they go and look for, oh, I want X, and they go and Google it, and everybody looks and sounds the same, well, that's the challenge, right? So the second thing is to look at, does what you say about your business, does it prompt prospects to say, well, I would hope so? So we have great quality. Well, I would hope so. We have great customer service. Well, I would hope so. We deliver on time. Well, I would hope so. Okay, can you see now that the things that you've been taught to do maybe aren't working as well as you thought? And then the third one, and this is one that's often more challenging for people as well, is, does it tap into your clients' hot buttons? Do you even know what your clients' hot buttons are? These are those emotional pain points that make them want to take action, to buy from somebody. Okay, they have a problem that they want to solve. And those are the things that will keep them up at night, or that will have them worried and thinking about stuff and talking about stuff. Okay, if you're not tapping into your clients' emotional hot buttons, then the chances are your marketing is just kind of going over their head. It's not landing with them. But when you do, boy, do they pay attention, right? It's not your fault. Or even if you're working with marketing agencies, or you have a marketing team member or two, it's not their fault. It's how they've been taught, right? Let's take a little bit of a history lesson very quickly. We go back to the late 19th century and early 20th century. All marketing and that had lots of text. There was huge amounts of information. In those days, marketing did a lot of the selling for you. Okay, even when radio came along, okay, the same thing happened. But there was something that happened in the 50s that changed all of that. Any guesses as to what that was? TV. Yeah, well done, Emily. TV. Okay, so in the 50s, people started getting televisions, and we had television ads. And in fact, a phenomenon that we have today. The soaps all came about because of what happened in the 50s. Some bright spark in an advertising agency had the idea of, I know, let's get such and such a laundry soap manufacturer to sponsor the TV dramas. And that's how they became known as the soaps. But there's a problem. As the number of TV advertisers grew, TV ads became more expensive. Now we can see a similar thing happening on social media, right? So that led to shorter ads. Okay. It's a bit different with social media. It didn't shorten ads, but it did then. So that meant instead of having a 3-minute ad where somebody was able to go really in depth about why they were better than their competitors and why you should buy from them, it led to what I call Mad Men style marketing, right? You can just see Don Draper in the boardroom working with his clients, coming up with these short, pithy strap lines, okay? And a greater focus on brand awareness. And this is what is still taught today. I have a marketing qualification. I have a business degree. All the case studies that we did, they were like the Coca-Colas of this world, Virgin, Virgin Media and whatever. It's all those big companies because they're training employees for corporates. They're not designed to help SMEs. But do SMEs have the ad budgets of these global corporations? No, they don't. They can't, whack people over the head with, all these messages all the time on TV, radio, billboards, online. No, you're not in the position to do that. In fact, for most small and medium-sized business owners, they have a huge dependence, in fact, a lot of the time an over-dependence on word of mouth. Word of mouth is brilliant. Like there's nothing better than getting a referral. However, if you want to scale your business, you have to be able to go past that. Straplines and platitudes, when they're used in your marketing, there's no way for your customers to tell who's actually offering the best deal. And that's what we all want, by the way, not the cheapest. We want the best value, the best deal, right? So we choose a business that has the lowest price. Think about the last time you went and Googled something and went to buy something. Did you buy on price because you actually couldn't tell the difference? Or did one business really stand out? Did they hit your emotional hot buttons and you were like, oh, even if it costs more, I'm buying from this company? Okay. So if you can't communicate your true value, you're doomed to compete on price. So what is your market dominating position? You've got to get inside your customers' heads and address 2 key points. Here's what they are. Number 1, there's a problem that they have that they don't want. And there's a result that they want, but they don't yet have. And don't be fooled by how simplistic this may seem. This is simple. It's not always easy. It takes time to really be able to get into your clients' heads and understand how do you apply this to your business to create a market dominating position. So here's an example for you. Do you know who said this? Hot and fresh in 30 minutes or it's free.
Domino's.
Yes, well done, Stephen. Domino's Pizza. Now, you might be kind of thinking, oh, what Una said, it's not about strap lines. Well, it isn't, right? What you may not be aware of is that Domino's actually really changed their operations. They innovated in order to be able to say this as their market dominating position. You see, there's the market dominating position statement, but then there's what actually goes on behind the scenes to create that market dominating position. And this is often what I'm working with my clients to help them to get to. So for Domino's, they actually chose locations that were in high student population areas. Why? Well, apparently when they started doing this, they didn't taste that great. And, you think of students, they've been to the bar, they've been to the library, they've been out, whatever it is. And, they get home, they just want something to eat. And wow, the possibility they might get it for free. They totally went for that. They changed their operations. They took out seating. So there was no seating. They didn't want people coming in and sitting down. They wanted people to buy into this whole concept of it. So they changed a lot. There was a whole lot of more things they did in their operations around this. A client of mine, lolapops.com, anyone who's got young children or wants to buy presents for young children, check out her stuff. It's fantastic. Boutique style, limited edition, handmade children clothing that last. Now, contrast that to when I first started working with her, she thought she was competing with the high street, with the Primarks of this world. She wasn't, okay? So she was severely undercharging what she could have been, and she wasn't marketing in the right way. But she actually had a loyal, group of clients that wanted their kids to stand out from the crowd, but they wanted it because they wanted to feel I'm buying something unique. Okay, it's limited edition. I'm not going to show up at a kid's party and someone else is wearing the same thing as my child. I want them to stand out. Well, doing this and a few other little things helped that business to double their sales and triple their profits in only 6 months. You use your market dominating position everywhere. And you may find, depending on the size of your business and what you do, you may just have a company market dominating position. You may also need to have a market dominating position for certain products and services as well. But here's the kicker as well. You can take your market dominating position and you can then tweak it to create an employer market dominating position. So if you're one of the people who finds it hard to find and attract and keep the right staff, you do this and you will stand out and people will want to come and work for you, and your staff will want to recommend you to the people they know that they think would make a great fit as well. Okay, so productivity is only productive if you're focusing on the right things. So who here has heard of the 80-20 rule? Yeah, so things are heads nodding. Yeah, hands up. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, great. And so the thing is that that's part of what this focus area of the impact-driven growth model is, okay, where we're focusing on these 5 steps. I want to share something with you. A 2.6 improvement over multiple strategies in each of these 5 areas will typically double your profits. So if you're one of the businesses that's only looking at more leads at the moment, or maybe more conversions, if you've known a bit about marketing, you want to be focusing on all 5 areas. How can a 2% increase make that much difference? Well, it's the power of compounding. Okay, so maybe you've heard about that. I was talking with somebody yesterday and I mentioned compounding and the face went like this. They thought I was going to make them do some math. No, I'm not going to do that. But I've got a great tool that I can show you this in practice. So let me just change what I'm sharing here. Okay, so here I've set the, I had set this up. There we go. Just about a £1 million company. My mouse just it's just slightly over. It'll be fine. So if we just take this company, and in fact, for a £1 million company, they probably would have a lower gross profit margin, net margin. They're probably more like 13%. Say it's an English company. So here are some initial strategies that I would typically do with a business when I first start working with them to make sure we're getting the foundations right. And even if they're already doing some or all of these things, we can look to improve them. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Say we improve this by 2.6%. So I'm just going to drag that up there. So we can see down the bottom here, current revenue just over 1 million. Their original profit was 130,000. It's now their new annual profit is 359,000. So that's way more than doubled. But you might be thinking, well, I don't have that kind of a business. So let's just make it 100,000 business. Okay, now for that, say it was a service-based business, maybe it's an 80 grand profit margin, let's say 25 grand, 25% net margin, and you can see the same thing there. Again, it has doubled. But what have we just been talking about? Market dominating positions. So let's say there really wasn't one, or is pretty weak, and we make a big difference in that, that'll go up 10%. Some of the things that you might want to do, like having additional products or services, pricing, okay, some of these things that some of the things that Stephen would work with you on, some of the things that I would work you on. Now look what's happened with the new profit. It's gone up to just under 80,000. So the thing is that this let me just come back here, go back to the slides. Okay, so this is how I'm able to show people how they can easily add 10 grand, 100 grand more to their profits and help them to double their business. But what I want you to think about is because like I work, my background is as a creative. I've worked in agencies. I've even been an actor. I have that creative mind. A lot of business owners have that creative entrepreneurial kind of mindset. And it's so, even though I've worked with a lot of people who are very good marketers, when it comes to doing things for themselves, it's often really hard. Okay, we need to be able to step outside of ourselves. And I just love this saying: you can't read the bottle, beg your pardon, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. Like, have you ever found that when somebody says something to you and you're like, oh my God, that was so obvious, but you just couldn't see it? Okay, we've all been there, right? Even applies to myself. So I've got a free bundle for you. Okay, so if you go to, and I'll excuse me, I'll pop this into the chat. Um, if you go to book a call with me and add, when you're kind of popping in your details, just add Harts free bundle, and I will also give you a free video training on flow. And with the ignition, so we have the spark test and we have the full profile, I'll give you a free spark test as well to help you get an understanding of where do you sit and how can you be building that into your business as well. So I've just popped that into the chat, and I think now it's time to go for feedback and questions. I'd love to know, actually, what has been the most significant thing that you've just heard. Pop that in the chat. And if you have any questions, obviously, we'll open up to that.
Likewise, if you want to shout out, please feel free. I've certainly found it fascinating, and looking at the what is our market dominating position, because all accountants are pretty much the same. You've got to differentiate yourself from somebody else. So that's certainly given me food for thought. But I found that certainly very fascinating. Has anybody else got anything they want to add?
Great. So Joe and Bob saying, if views on what's the market dominating position, what they're doing is standard. Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty common. As I said, the vast majority of businesses that I speak to, they're in the same position. And it's causing problems for them, So yeah. By the way, anyone who's booking that breakthrough call, for some reason my calendar isn't showing up properly. I'm actually off as of from end of play tomorrow, but I do have some time tomorrow morning, but it wasn't showing up in my calendar. I don't know if it is now. I was only having one slot, but if you're happy waiting until January, that's fine. But if you did want to do tomorrow morning before the 12 o'clock slot, just let me know in the chat here or message me on LinkedIn, and I'll be able to book you in manually. So
Okay,
Emily's saying
so
the same thing, market dominating
yeah.
position. Yeah, cool.
And what also you can do next is you could book a planning session as well. We have our planning sessions on. They take about 4 hours or so. Well worth a chat. If you want to chat about it first, feel free. I'm not going to charge you for a phone call. I'll download the free ebook, which we've talked about, which is available from our website, so you can download that. And set aside some time to think about what you want to do, or where you want to go. We're coming up to the Christmas break. A lot of people are going to be off. It's a great time to think about, where am I going next year? What am I trying to achieve? What do I want to do in, say, 5 years' time? Do we want to be like that picture of the guy on his boats or on the beach or whatever it was in 5 years' time? Some of you might want that. Others might say, no, I want to grow £1 million business to a £10 million business. Other people say, I want to stay as I am, but I want to earn a bit more. There is no right or wrong answer. You don't have to be going for the moon. It's whatever you want. I know it's a difficult concept for accountants to grasp, whether there's no right and no wrong, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's down to whatever you want. So please feel free to get in touch. All of you have got our details from our website, harts-ltd.com, and just download that free ebook or drop me an email and I'll happily talk to you. If there's no other questions, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's been great, certainly been fascinating. It just remains for me to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year on January the 19th for our first webinar of 2023. Thank you very much. Stay warm in this cold weather, and we'll speak to you all soon.